When you consider that ride and handling are not mutually exclusive, I think the designers have come up with a very good mix.
It's more of a hobby, should I say, but yes, we're striving to become more professional and more full-time at it.
Motoring 91 is brought to you by Quaker State. Quaker State, one tough motor oil.
Look at these beautiful roses, and do they smell great. But unfortunately, I can't take credit for them. They're my neighbors, but don't they look terrific? But hey, we're not here to talk about roses. We're here to talk about cars, and we're going to begin the program this week by responding to a letter we received from Mr. Glenn Nearing of Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island. He was watching an episode of Motoring. Jim Kenzie, who's on the program each week, was doing a commentary in our van. This is the van here. Mr. Nearing thinks he saw what appeared to be a cracked windshield, which he reminds us is unsafe to drivers. He also adds that if my eyes failed me during the viewing and there is no crack, please accept my apologies. Well, let's roll the videotape and go to that segment when Jim Kenzie was in the van. There you see him. It was in the evening. There's the windshield, and there is the crack. Mr. Nearing's eyesight is 20/20. It's perfect. Well, there's the windshield, and there indeed is a crack that we saw in the windshield. And on this particular program, we have a treat, because not only are we going to replace this windshield and make this once again a safe vehicle, we're also going to show you how a windshield is replaced when later on we meet the magician.
Nissan has announced plans to build an electric vehicle beginning in 1997. The Japanese automotive giant will team up with Kyushu Electric and will begin commercial production in 6 years. Specifics of the power source have not been released, but according to Japanese media reports, the vehicle will have a range of 120 miles at 25 miles per hour on a single electrical charge. J.D. Power has released its annual survey on customer satisfaction, and the Japanese lead the way. The Lexus LS400 occupies top spot, followed by the Acura NSX and the BMW 750i. The only North American car that made it to the list is the Pontiac 6000. In the service survey, based on brands and problems encountered, Lexus is again at the top of the list. Infiniti is a close second, followed by Toyota. North American manufacturers managed to crack the top 10 with products from Ford and Lincoln.
When I picked this car up, the PR guru there pointed out something rather interesting, and it's to do with the engine compartment. As you can see, between the front of the cylinder block and the radiator, there's enough room to accommodate 2 cylinders per bank. Yes, folks, your math is right. It's a possibility of a V12 engine.
Test Drive with Graham Fletcher.
This week on Test Drive, we look at the new Lexus SC400. Now, this vehicle owes a great deal of its design to a balloon filled with plaster of Paris. Indeed, they threw the designer's manual out the window to come up with the final shape, because it was not until a 5th scale followed by a full-scale model had been completed that the car was committed to paper. The powertrain in the SC400 is the same as the one found in the LS400. The engine displaces 4 litres and features 4 cams, 32 valves and 250 silky smooth horsepower. All this power is relayed to the road via the rear wheels through an electronically controlled dual-mode automatic transmission. In the power mode, each gear is held a little longer to improve performance. On the skid pad, this culminated in 0 to 100k times of just over 7 seconds. On the highway, it equated to effortless high-speed cruising, excellent mid-range performance and superb passing power. To eliminate any fishtailing on takeoff, the coupe features a traction control system. To achieve the desired effect, the computer monitors wheel speed. If the system detects wheel spin, it firstly slows the wheels using the anti-lock brake system. Should the problem persist, a second computer begins to reduce the engine power output. All of this takes place in the blink of an eye and without any driver input. The system can be turned off if desired. However, it is automatically engaged every time the car is started. Since the introduction of the SC400, several critics have knocked the brake performance. We found little to complain about. The stopping distances, while not the best recorded, were short, straight and stable, and despite the slightly spongy pedal feel, were easy to modulate. After several high-speed stops, the only thing that did show up was a slight pull to the right immediately prior to the car coming to a dead stop. The pull was moderate and is probably due to one too many brake tests. Despite the distinct slant towards handling, the ride comfort is surprisingly good. And when you consider that ride and handling are not mutually exclusive, I think the designers have come up with a very good mix. In the pylon test, the SC displayed a high degree of control as well as a nice neutral feel. The hinge on this new coupe is rather unique to say the least. Not only does it bring the door out and forward, it also leans out at the top, the purpose of which is obviously to aid getting in and out of the car. Now, this is not the only new technologies Toyota had to come up with to accommodate the rather radical nose design of this vehicle. In order to retain the shape, the engineers had to almost reinvent the headlight. Now, rather than adjusting the whole thing, you simply adjust the reflector. The white cylinder is the adjuster. To properly align the lights, you simply park on a level surface and play with the adjusters until the bubble sits in the right place in the spirit level. The other point of interest is that the SC400 uses a hydraulically driven fan. The purpose is to reduce both fan noise and the load placed on the engine. All very clever and advanced stuff. Inside, the front passengers are truly pampered. The driver is treated to a 7-way power seat. This ensures the correct driving position. To make sure the fit is perfect, the steering wheel features both a power tilt and telescopic adjustment. The finishing touch is a well-placed dead pedal. The dash is analog and complete in every respect. Until the key is turned on, all is black. Start the engine and the whole thing comes to life. All other controls, the majority of which are power operated, are well placed and easy to operate. If you do need to get into the rear, and given the lack of legroom not many will want to, it is best accomplished from the right side. Here the seat automatically powers forward when the seat back is tilted forward. When returned to the upright position, the seat powers back to the original spot. The trunk is on the small side and the lift over a little on the high side. Having said that, it will suffice under the circumstances. The radio is worthy of a mention because it pumps out a staggering 280 watts of crystal clear sound. Given that the average home unit is somewhere between 1 and 200 watts, you realize just how powerful the unit actually is. You may also suffer from premature hearing loss if you use it to capacity. This is the spot usually reserved for my pet peeve. On this vehicle I really don't have one other than to point out the total lack of legroom in the rear. Given this is a 2+2 though, that should hardly come as a big surprise. Anyway, now to the scoreboard for a rundown on the 1992 Lexus SC400. On the skid pad we averaged 0 to 100k times of a titch over 7 seconds. As with the LS400, the initial oomph is restrained. However, as the acceleration times indicate, once rolling the power comes in very strongly and smoothly. The double wishbone suspension ensures both a comfortable and stable ride. Through the pylons there was minimal body roll and the feel was surprisingly neutral. One of the major benefits of a double wishbone suspension is that it minimizes camber change. This really helps in stability. Many have criticized the SC400's brake performance. We averaged a respectable 118 feet to stop from 80k. The anti-lock feature adds the desired security and stability you expect from a car of this class. For a sports-oriented automobile, the ride is impeccable. Even the Princess would have a hard time finding the P in the SC400. The other point to note is that the interior is quiet, almost deafeningly so. During the test, we averaged 11.9 litres per 100 kilometres or 29 miles per gallon. Considering the performance, this is not a bad rate of return. In conclusion, the new SC400 makes the poor old Jaguar XJS look and feel much more antiquated than it actually is. Anyone looking for a fast, comfortable and very luxurious coupe that looks like $1 million will have a hard time beating the latest Lexus.
You're watching Bert Molinari begin the job of replacing the windshield on Motoring 91's van. And with me right now is the magician, Raymond Chin. I call him the magician because he runs a business called the Windshield Magician. And Raymond, as we said earlier, a viewer saw the crack in the windshield. It is unsafe. In fact, I could get a ticket, couldn't I, for driving around like that?
Yeah, you could get a ticket, and I think it's $53 fine, and 24 hours to get it fixed, and it's unsafe, as you can see.
Now, tell me a little bit about this for people who have never seen it done. Is it a long job? Is it a quick job?
No, basically it takes about an hour to do the windshield, and it could be done at your own your business, home, just about any place.
Well, you've been in business, you told me, for about 8 years, but is this technology new? Like, was there years ago when it took you a long time to get a windshield replaced?
Yes, it did. Used to take about a half a day, sometimes a whole day, but now it's down to about an hour, hour and a half, the most.
What are the steps? Like, what is Bert doing right now?
Basically, Bert is removing all the trim to get to the windshield, okay, and which usually takes most of the time. But actually changing the windshield doesn't take very long, okay. He's removing the bottom cowl, side moldings, and the top molding, and then you will see the windshield.
Now, what happens with this windshield after you take it out?
Unfortunately, it goes to the garbage. One of the biggest problems with windshield is not just glass. There is plastic inside for safety, but nobody has come up with a way of getting rid of the plastic to recycle the glass. So basically it goes to the garbage, unfortunately.
Now, that crack has gone right across the window. Is there any chance that it would never cave in?
No, it would never cave in, no. It's designed for safety for that purpose.
Is this strictly a one-man job or two-man job?
Strictly a one-man job. Technology has made it so easy now, there's no need for two people.
Good, well that means you won't be needing my help, but stick around because later on when we come back we're going to watch this windshield being taken out and a new one being put in. But first we're going to join our resident mechanic Bill Gardner. Bill this week is going to show us how to keep things cool. Well, at least keep our transmission cool.
You may not think of the connection between your radiator and your transmission, but if your vehicle has an automatic transmission, there's a good chance that the radiator is handling cooling the engine as well as the automatic transmission. We can see these two fittings over here on the rad, and these handle the automatic transmission cooling. Inside this rad tank is a small cooler, and these are the attaching points. Now, if you want to add a lot of life to your automatic transmission, installing a unit something like this, an aftermarket auxiliary transmission cooler, is a really good idea. 4 little rubber mounting pads isolate it from the radiator, and it mounts on the front something like this. There's a little plastic quick tie kit that comes with it, and it just sits right on there, something like that. Quite an easy installation. It's a lightweight unit. It's made of aluminum. It's also quite durable. You'll use a high pressure hose, something like this, to connect to the fittings. This is included with the installation kit, and you'll run that hose around the radiator and connect to these existing ports. We can see a barbed connection that we've used here, and once the hose is pushed over that barb and clamped, it can't get itself back off there, so it's quite a reliable installation. Now, on this vehicle that we have today, we can see that the rad is quite accessible, so it would be an easy installation for a do-it-yourselfer or many motorists. The unit will just slip down in front of the grill here and install right up against the radiator, and we can tie it off quickly against the back. Quite an easy job. If it's not something that you could handle yourself, a radiator specialty shop or many mechanics could install this for about an hour's labor. These units are sized according to the anticipated heat load and run anywhere from $40 to $60 neighborhood. And it's money well spent, believe me, because many of today's automatic transmissions can cost you in excess of $1,000 to rebuild if and when they go. And most automatic transmissions don't just break a hard part. They usually burn themselves out slowly. The clutches, seals, gaskets fail very slowly as a result of years and years of heat load. So installing one of these coolers will add a lot of miles to the life of your automatic transmission. Till next week, I'm Bill Gardner for Motoring 91.
I could buy a set of clubs and just go play golf all day, but I find that boring too. So it works out great for all of us. We enjoy it as a team deal. If things work out better and as sponsorships come along, we will then enable, to get bigger and better, obviously, and get into 2-3 different cars, whatever the program, will allow us.
Well, Bert Molinari of the Windshield Magician is now taking away the old cracked windshield off Motoring's van, and we'll have a new one here in just a few minutes. It's not bad, eh? It could save a few bucks on air conditioning. I don't know about getting the bugs out of my teeth though, but anyway, we're gonna have a new windshield and see how it's installed in just a few minutes. But first, you know, drivers like Scott Goodyear and Paul Tracy have shown how Canadian race drivers are making inroads in the United States and the Big Money Series. Well, Steve Grant now has a story about another Canadian driver who also hopes to make it in a big way.
Every week on Motoring, we bring you a segment from Bill Gardner's garage. Bill works with the latest in automobile technology, and he certainly has the knowledge. Well, this week, I have found a downtown service station that has something that even Bill Gardner can't compete with.
It's not unusual to see a Chevy Beretta in for service. It is a little uncommon, however, when the same car can travel 190 miles per hour over a quarter mile. The service station and the car belong to Mike Papadamo, and he's determined to make it big in pro stock racing.
Well, I mean, all our buddies, we all used to go to Dragway Park Cayuga, and we all started into the Quick 8 program, and then when Cayuga wasn't looking too great, we all broke out, and I decided to go to NHRA Pro Stock, and it looked like it'd be the best class for me without doing any major changes. We built this new 1990 Beretta, and a couple of 500 cubic inch motors, and we decided to go play with the big boys like Bob Glidden, Warren Johnson, Jerry Ekman, all the guys that we all dreamed about and watched on TV, and somehow or another we managed to get there and start racing with these guys. The only two guys in Canada that race in that program is a guy by the name of Alban Gauthier, which has been doing it for 20 some odd years, and this is our first season into it. So yes, we are rare. They all think we got 6 inches of snow on the ground all the time, so it's very difficult for them to understand how we can race with them. It seems to be going well. We have come around a lot, like I said before. You know, at first we placed 100th place, and now we're down to the 16th, 17th group. So we've turned a few eyes, and we got some of the big guys coming over and talking to us. So it looks good, and hopefully things will just get better.
It's a tough road for Papadamo. In addition to running a full-time business, there's travel expenses. All but one of the events are in the United States, and luckily, he gets a lot of help.
Oh yeah, we've got my wife and my crew chief Serge Trikin and his fiance and my driver and crewman Brad Craig, and we all just put it together. We all know our jobs. We don't talk between the laps. We just kind of have our job and just do it. There's no time for fooling around, not when there's only 2 hours between the race, and includes, you know, removing transmissions, motors, whatever it takes to make it happen. So it's an ongoing battle, and we all just do the thing, do it together.
So if the worst thing happens on a weekend and you blow an engine surge, how long would it take you to replace one of these things?
I would say approximately about an hour. Could happen. It's basically about 7 bolts, and I'd hook a couple of wires, and the motor's out.
As for the car itself, well, think of it as a Beretta on steroids, because this all-Canadian-built car is more stock than you would think.
Well, for instance, the front end that we had off earlier, the hood, the front fenders, the doors are all incorporated, and they're made out of carbon fiber, which is a lot lighter than fiberglass, and it's also structurally a lot stronger as well. Again, the hood scoop being made out of fiberglass. You see a lot of the race cars like this, and a lot of people think because you're using high-tech materials that it would continue that way. This roof is a factory General Motors roof. The quarter panels are factory General Motors as well. It's stipulated in the rules that that's what you must use. Then again, you get into the wheelbase and stuff like that. That is altered a little bit, and that's again part of the rules that you can do that for the application. What the wheelie bars are for is to keep the car from riding too high in the air when you leave the starting line. The shoe polish on the wheelie bars will actually indicate how long the wheelie bars will hit at the starting line, and when they stop hitting the ground anymore, you can actually find out how long the car will ride on the wheelie bars.
Okay, so once we're at the starting line, basically with your foot on the clutch, you're waiting until the lights go green on you, and once the green light is on, you would basically release your clutch. With all levers forward is first. As soon as I see the shift light here on my dashboard, that would be second gear. I'd wait for the light to come back on, then I would pull into third gear, and then last but not least, fourth gear.
In these recessionary times, the list of race car drivers looking for sponsorship is growing every day. And Mike and his crew are no exception. This is the only Canadian team racing at the pro stock level. And every race but one are in the United States. So you can imagine when Mike goes looking for sponsorship, it's a real challenge.
Well, it has been tough. We've tried to approach a lot of different people in Canada, and because most of the races are in the States, we haven't found the right company that's involved in both States and Canadian, and it's always that tough deal where there's only one race in Canada. So unless we really get on the bandwagon and start winning or qualifying real good in the pack, we're not going to be seeing any sponsorships. And unless some companies are willing to motivate themselves into the States and try and get their products or advertising into the States, then they need to do something with us or with another Canadian team or so to get things moving. With the Canadian development and things around, nothing's happening, and it's just on a standstill. It's, to me, it's more of a hobby, should I say, but yes, we're striving to become more professional and more full-time at it, you know, depending on funds and things like that. It's just a learning experience, and you just got to go with time. Time will tell.
Darling, I've asked you not to call me at the office. Now, there are other reasons to use cellular phones, and we'll talk about one of them next on Kenzie's Corner.
Kenzie's Corner with Jim Kenzie.
You know, I'm almost ashamed to admit that I have one of these things in my car, but believe me, I do use the hands-free feature. I don't spend my entire time with the phone wired to my jaw. But a cellular phone can be more than just a business convenience or a way to arrange a squash game. You can even use it in emergencies to summon help. More importantly, you can use it to help the police do their job. If you see somebody doing something really stupid out there in traffic and wish there was a policeman around, with one of these, at least you can speak with one. Robin, our cameraman, actually got cut off in traffic the other day, and he was so mad that he phoned the police. He gave them the information. It was a commercial vehicle, and it had the phone number on the side of it. He got a message later on in the day saying the police had found the driver and had given him a very stern warning. Now, I'm not sure we want to turn everybody into a vigilante and become a spy on our fellow drivers. But a cellular phone can be useful in that situation. Now, a lot of companies have these "How am I driving?" 1-800 numbers on the backs of their trucks. Well, we phoned one of those the other day and it was permanently busy. I guess we weren't the only ones complaining. So if you have a cellular phone, consider using it for more than just chatting up your girlfriend. If you see a dangerous driver, report him to the police. If you see a rude driver, report him to his company if he's a commercial driver. It's not a big gesture, but if enough of us do it, maybe it will have some impact. I'm Jim Kenzie.
Well, we're back with the van and no windshield. You can see Bert has put this sealant. It's fresh, and speaking of Bert, here he comes in with our brand new windshield. And as he's putting it in, we just want to thank Bert and everybody and Raymond at the Windshield Magician for showing us how this procedure is done. There you see it going on to the front of the van. You never know what you're going to see on this program, so make sure you tune in next week as we bring you more stories on automobiles and the people who drive them and help fix them.
Motoring 91 has been brought to you by Quaker State. Quaker State, one tough motor oil.